In this video, we'll look at a scenario that every owner of a horse hopes to not find themselves in, which is to have a horse on stall rest for an extended period of time. There's many reasons why stall rest might be prescribed for your horse. Some of the most common might be recovery from trauma or a wound, or a long-term rehabilitation and recovery from a tendon or ligament injury. Sometimes stall rest in these conditions can stretch out to 4 to 6 months or even longer depending on the type of injury, and controlled exercise may be added in over time. The biggest thing to keep in mind is that if your vet did prescribe stall rest for your horse, it's really, really important to follow those directions. Even one incident of a horse in a paddock that's normally a calm horse getting spooked, whirling, galloping across the pasture can re-injure the tendon that was trying to heal and set you back weeks or months, set you back right to the original time of injury, or even provoke a worse injury than there was originally. There are, however, many things that you can do to make the time of stall rest easier on both you and your horse. There's some things to think about with the stall itself. If it's an indoor stall, it's important to think about the placement of the stall, the lighting, the ventilation. Think about your individual horse and whether they might be happier in a more high traffic area of the barn where there's people and other horses coming and going, or whether they might do better in a more quieter area of the barn. Depending on the horse's original injury, it may also be important to think about whether an outdoor stall might be an option for your horse. Sometimes in some horses you can make a 12 by 12 stall outside from panels, and that might be a better option, especially for a more longer term rehabilitation. This horse here is on stall rest for rehabilitation from a wound that went into the tendon sheath and injured the tendon on her right front here. And so it's really important for us to keep really deep bedding, lots of shavings in her stall to protect her left front foot, and making sure that she doesn't founder in that foot from putting too much weight on it, and doing everything we can for that. Significant management changes such as putting a horse in a stall can also lead to problems like colic and gastric ulcers. So it's important to monitor your horse, especially for the first couple weeks, to make sure that they're still eating well and still drinking plenty of water. Most horses can be maintained just on hay when they're on stall rest. They don't need the additional calories or the additional energy from having grain or pelleted feeds added into their diet. And eating is also one activity that your horse can do to relieve boredom. So for this reason, as well as the benefit of reducing gastric ulcers, it's good to have hay in front of them at all times so they have something to do. And hay nets can also slow the process down of eating a bit as well and make them take a little bit more time and effort to get at that feed. If you're really struggling with a horse that gets really anxious in a stall, there's also medications that we can use to help keep them calm. One of these medications is called Zilkine. It's a natural milk casein protein-based medication, but it works on the same receptors that Valium does. So in some horses, it's a really good option to keep them calm if they're really struggling. The other thing to think about is when it's time to transition out of the stall. And when you do that, it's really important to do this with forethought and carefully. So depending on what your horse is like, you're probably going to be starting with hand walking over time, adding in some trotting over time, potentially starting to ride at the walk, all of these things before you ever let the horse have any sort of uncontrolled exercise. The first time it does go out in a larger paddock or pasture, it's important to think about what horses it's going out with. It might be a good idea to feed them outside rather than feeding them in the stall that day, so they're thinking about eating rather than running around when they go out. And depending on the horse, it may be a good idea to medicate them the first time they go out as well to keep them calm that first time. Overall, the most important thing to think about with stall rest in horses is if it's not going well, it's a good idea to just talk to your vet and see if there's another option or another strategy that you can use to make things go more smoothly. What you don't want to be doing is struggling and having a horse that's not doing well in a stall and thinking that you've just got to maintain that and there's no other options. Although they do need to be in a small area, in a small stall-sized area, there are a lot of options that we can think about to make it easier on you.